Imagine waking up one day to find out that there is a blackout all over the country and there is no power. Everyone starts to panic and worry about what will happen soon. People start panic buying, and there is a shortage of food and water. Nobody knows if things will ever return to normal, and everyone is fighting for survival. That's precisely what happens in the 2015 movie called Into the Forest. But before we begin, beware of spoilers, watch out, and take care. The movie opens with two teenage sisters, Nell and Eva, who live in a remote location near a forest with their father named Robert. Eva is studying interpreted dance, and Nell is studying for her SATs exams when, unexpectedly, the power goes out. Nell is forced to use a flashlight that quickly runs out of batteries. Nell decides to go out to get a headlamp from their family car, determined to finish her studies for her exams. As she walks back into the house, she doesn't realize that the trunk of the car is open and the lights are left on. The next morning, Robert needs to go into town to get fuel and asks Eva to go with him. Robert switches on the car, but it doesn't start. He realizes that the car battery is dead. Nell joins them outside and turns on her solar-charged radio. They listen to the news on the blackout and the issue with one of the power plants, which has caused a massive problem. A couple of days later, the power is still out and Robert is working on the car, trying to fix the battery. Thinking that they are stranded, Nell suggests to her dad that they should try and walk to the nearest town instead. He explains how the nearest town will take 3 days to get to on foot. In the next scene, Eva practices her dance routine while trying to tune into her radio. The blackout has caused a lot of problems affecting transport, and Nell wonders when everything will return to normal. Robert comforts her and assures her that everything will be okay soon, and that she will pass her exams with flying colors. It's been 10 days without power, and Robert has finally come up with an idea to get the car working. He takes the chainsaw and pulls it apart. He then uses the motor as a battery for the car. As the girls watch on, they are ecstatic when they hear the engine switch on. They all excitedly jump into the car. Robert notices no one is around, and they have all been deserted. Next, they enter a store and are shocked to find the shelves empty. As they look around, they hear the sound of a gun. The storekeeper, Stan, approaches Robert and asks if he has any money. Robert assures Stan that he has enough money to pay. Since the power cut, people began panicking and started robbing the shop. They grab 2 to 3 months of food supply, and Stan agrees to give them some fuel. In the next scene, Eva attends a dance class in the city while Nell meets up with her friend Eli. Nell and Eli have strong feelings for each other. They spend the whole day together and kiss for the first time. As they drink and dance into the night, her father and sister come to collect her. Nell is really drunk at this point and locks lips with Eli one more time before leaving. The next morning, while they have their breakfast together, Robert tells the girls that they won't be going into town for quite some time now. They have enough supplies at home, and the situation outside is terrible. Robert explains that the safest option for them right now is staying home. Nell is deeply upset upon hearing this news because she is desperate to see Eli again. Later that day, the girls finish helping their father chop wood for the fire, but Nell is angry and frustrated about being stuck at home. While they are inside, they hear a loud scream and rush outside to find Robert, who has injured himself with a chainsaw. Robert's leg is badly cut and blood is pouring out. Eva applies pressure while Nell ties a belt around his leg to stop the bleeding. Robert is in excruciating pain and tells the girls he may not survive. The girls are shocked and cry uncontrollably, trying to reassure him that he will be okay. He tells them to look out for each other and never depart. Robert's breathing slows and he takes his last breath. The girls are in disbelief and heartbroken that they have lost their father. The next morning, they bury Robert in the same spot where he died. They feel like they have lost everything since their mother died when they were young. In shock, the only person who looked after them has been taken away too. Nell takes a bath, while Eva clings to her father's belongings and mourns. Months pass by, and there is still no electricity. The food supplies and fuel are running low, and Eva begins to suffer from depression. She argues with her music and watch movies. Nell tells her they need to conserve fuel for important things, including driving into town. They continue to argue and eventually stop. One morning, Nell discovers that all their chickens have been eaten by wild boars when she goes to collect eggs. She tries to tell Eva, but Eva is still not talking to her. Ava walks into the kitchen, frustrated with Nell, and tells her she doesn't understand her, grabs her plate, and walks away. That evening, Nell is seen crying and running out into the dark forest, calling for her father as she sees wild animals digging up his grave. Eva wakes up from a nightmare and sees her sister crying out loudly. Eva realizes that she is all alone and must take care of herself. Later, while the sisters are conversing, drops of water start leaking from the ceiling. Eva tries to persuade Nell once again to allow her to use some fuel for the generator, but Nell denies her request. When Nell offers her a chocolate egg to lift her spirits, Eva argues with her. Suddenly, a loud banging is heard on the door, causing them both to become frightened. They pick up their father's weapon and ask who it is. Nell is ecstatic to discover that it is Eli who has come to visit her. Eli confesses that he has missed her and traveled on his bike to see her. They stay up all night discussing their father's fate and why they were unable to visit the city. Eli reveals that things are pretty grim. People are falling ill due to the lack of clean water and are resorting to using bicycles for transportation. The following day, Eva expresses her concerns to Nell. She questions how long Eli plans to stay since their food supplies are dwindling. Eva also cautions her sister to be cautious and avoid becoming pregnant. In the next scene, Nell takes Eli to the woods to show him the little hideaway where they engage in a passionate kiss and lovemaking. That evening, Eli plays the harmonica by the fireplace while Eva watches with envy and walks away. A few days later, Eli informs Nell that he knows of a place where people are leading a regular life, but it's a long way off and poses many dangers. He plans to go there and asks Nell to accompany him. They both try to persuade Eva to come with them, but she refuses. Later that night, Nell and Eli get ready to depart, and Eva gives them a gun and bids them farewell. Both sisters become emotional and cry as Nell and Eli leave, dark as they decide to rest before continuing in the morning. When they awaken, Nell becomes apprehensive and informs Eli that her father asked her to take care of her sister. She has a change of heart and tells Eli that she needs to return. Eli tries to persuade her that they will be happy in their new destination, but Nell insists on going back. She decides to run home to her sister's embrace. They cry tears of joy upon seeing each other. Over the next few weeks, they run out of food, so they go into the forest to look for something to eat. They stumble upon a berry tree, gather what they can, and return home. Later that day, Nell realizes that she has started her period and feels relieved that she is not pregnant. That night, the girls decide to have a party and drink. They also turn on the generator to watch videos of their parents, which they enjoy for a short while until the generator shuts down. Eva decides to go to bed while Nell secretly pours fuel into a container for emergencies. One day, Nell goes to pick berries from the forest, leaving Eva alone to chop wood for the fire. Suddenly, a man named Stan from the local store approaches Eva and starts asking about her father. Feeling uneasy, Eva tells him her father is around the back. However, Stan persists and continues to ask about her. At this point, Eva begins to feel uncomfortable and tightly grips onto the axe in her hand. Suddenly, Stan grabs her, pins her down on the floor, and assaults her. After finishing, he takes the container of fuel and leaves in their car. Nell returns to find Eva traumatized and in shock. Days pass, and Nell notices that Eva has been deeply affected by the ordeal. She has become more depressed and is not eating well. Nell tries to cheer her up by turning on the generator and playing music, but when Eva finds out that Nell has been hiding fuel, she gets angry and refuses to dance. As time passes, the girls struggle to survive with no power, relying on tin food for sustenance. Both their minds and bodies have been affected, and Eva tells Nell that she no longer feels happy. Nell notices that Eva is feeling sick after always eating, and she thinks she might be pregnant. Soon they learn that Eva is pregnant with Stan's baby. To Nell's surprise, Eva decides she wants to keep the baby. As more months go by, Eva is looking weaker, and Nell is worried for her and the baby. Eva is heavily pregnant, and they are discussing whether it will be a boy or girl. When Nell puts her hand on Eva's stomach, she feels the baby kick and tells her it will be a girl and a dancer, just like her mom. And it is not a girl. She will do anything Eva wants. That evening, after both of them fall asleep, they hear a loud bang outside. Both girls get very scared, and Nell goes outside with a gun to check out the noise. Nell realizes that the noises are from a bad storm when suddenly the roof support beams start collapsing all around her. During all the commotion, Eva starts having contractions and goes into labor. The girls have no option but to leave the house and find somewhere safe. Nell and Eva walk towards the forest. Eva's contractions become more frequent and she is very close to giving birth. As Nell prepares herself with one final push, Eva gives birth to a baby boy, and both sisters are overjoyed and finally have some hope. A few days later, after the storm passes, they both make their way back to the house to discover the house totally destroyed. They find that the roof has totally collapsed, leaving the house unlivable. While looking at the state of the house, Eva tells her sister that she wants to burn it down. Upon hearing this, Nell is completely shocked and asks her what she means. Eva explains that she will use the last bit of fuel they have and burn the house down so that Stan will never return, thinking they have all died. Eva tells her that she wants to go and live in the forest, where they can be free and live like people did many centuries ago, without power and electricity. She tells Nell that they have been practically living a simple life like this for many months now, and can continue doing so. Nell is not convinced by Eva's way of thinking, but she reminds her that she lost the bet by not guessing the gender of her baby correctly. They both go inside the house, and one of them has time to collect their belongings before returning. Outside, Nell is forced to hand over the can of fuel to her sister. In the last scene, we see Eva dousing the house with the remaining fuel as Nell lights it up. Both sisters sit back and watch the house burn down before they turn around and walk into the dark, unknown forest. And the movie ends there. If you want to see more movie recaps like this, hit the subscribe button to become a part of our movie family.